Hey everybody, so last month October was freaking crazy, right? That was the craziest month ever for mobile technology, and I've said it before, I don't think it'll ever be topped. So not only did we get the LG V40, we got the Google Pixel 3, OnePlus 6T, Huawei Mate 20 Pro, Honor Magic 2, Xiaomi Mi Mix 3, Razer Phone 2, and a bunch of other smaller phones I didn't even get to cover. Now, as usual, LG has kind of fallen under the radar. If you do a search on YouTube or just go on the internet, you'll see that there's a lot more coverage on the Google Pixel 3, OnePlus 6T, or the Huawei Mate 20 Pro than the LG V40. So that makes the LG V40 once again a very underrated device, just like the LG V30. LG phones tend to be underrated and overlooked. Now, there's a few reasons for that. The first reason is that LG just doesn't have the marketing budget of an Apple, Samsung, or even Huawei. If no matter where you go in the world, you see iPhone billboards everywhere. If you go to Europe right now, Huawei billboards are everywhere. So the combination of that plus just, I think inherently there's like a US bias against LG. I don't know why. I've made a video about this before. I just find US tech writers so damn snarky. So, a combination of just not having all the billboards and commercials and just the US media being snarky has kind of painted this unfair picture of LG phones as a brand that's like below Apple, Samsung, and Huawei. And I'm telling you, that's not true. I use all these phones. And and I'm not just like good friends with LG people, I'm good friends with also people at Apple or Huawei. I mean, I was invited to the iPhone launch at the Steve Jobs Theater. So I have no reason to favor one brand over the other. I'm just telling the truth. LG phones are, for the most part, just as good as the new iPhones or the new Samsung Galaxy or the new Huawei phones. Now, those phones, particularly the iPhone, tend to be a little bit more polished, a little bit more refined, and then Samsung phones have a better screen, and Huawei phones tend to just throw more features at you. But there are quite a few things that LG does better than all those other phones too. You see that right now there's a cable plugged into my phone. That's because one, this phone has a freaking headphone jack, which nobody else but LG and Samsung offers anymore. And the LG V40 allows me to record audio in HD. And the recorder app, it's a lot more intuitive than other phone brands. Other phone brands, the recording app, you can just hit record and stop. On the LG V40, you can trim, you can slice it, you can adjust the sound, the mic, all of that. So sound coming from this should be better than my usual sound because this phone has HD audio capabilities. So just one of the several things that the V40 or LG phones in the past do better than other phones. So sorry, that was a little bit long-winded, but that's just the first reason why LG phones tend to get overlooked. The second reason is, unfortunately, LG just cannot price its phone as cheap as Chinese brands. Now the reason for that is because LG is a Korean company and the phones are made in Korea. Now, labor in Korea costs a little bit more than labor in China. So that means you have to pay a little bit more to make the phones. And on top of that, in South Korea, they take things like IP laws and just following the rules and procedures a little bit more seriously than in China. I'm Chinese, so I can say this. No offense to Chinese brands, but the reason they're able to pump out phones so fast is because they sometimes take shortcuts. They bend the rules and they kind of just shamelessly copy. Like the Xiaomi Mi 8 was a complete blatant copy of the iPhone 10. Xiaomi is a big company and they're still doing this. So in China, it's a little bit more lawless. You can just make things cheaper because manual labor there is cheaper. And then also LG is a major corporation with shareholders and all that. So the mobile division cannot just lower the price of the phone because they have to answer to the bosses, they have to answer to shareholders, and they have to price the phone accordingly to make a profit. Xiaomi and OnePlus don't have to follow those rules. Xiaomi actually doesn't make any money when they sell a phone because they price it so cheap. Xiaomi is just hoping to get the phones out, as many of them out as possible, so they can convince people to use the MIUI ecosystem, because Xiaomi actually wants to be an internet company, not just a smartphone company. And OnePlus, same thing. They're owned by the same company as Oppo and Vivo, so they have a lot of resources that are backing each other. So that's why OnePlus is able to sell phones at razor thin profit margins. LG cannot, and that puts LG at a disadvantage because on the top end, it doesn't have the marketing muscle as a Huawei or Apple or Samsung. So the mainstream perception is LG phones are not as good as those phones, when that's not true. And then on top of that, LG phones can't sell for as cheap as a OnePlus or a Honor or a Xiaomi. So it's an unfortunate situation. I don't know how LG's gonna get out of it. But all I know is as a reviewer, LG phones are underrated. And I've been using the LG V40 as either my main or second phone for the past 2 weeks. I've been using it side by side with the iPhone XS Max, the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, the Honor Magic 2. And yeah, I can't say the LG V40 is the best phone overall, better than all those phones, but there are a lot of things about this phone that are just better than those phones that make me really want to use it. Okay, so that was the longest intro ever, right? Now let me get on to the actual review. So I'm just gonna go over the specs really quick because by now I think everybody's familiar with it, and plus I made a hands-on video about 3 weeks ago. So 6.4-inch OLED display, it looks good. LG seems to have fixed the slight color shift issues from before. This is definitely a really clean, really good panel. There is a notch, but you're able to hide it like I have right now. If you don't want to hide it, if you want to show off the notch in all its glory, LG actually has modes that highlight the notch by doing this gradient color scheme. Now on the back of the phone, triple cameras here, I'll get into it later. The back is made of glass, supports wireless charging of course, but there's this frosted coating over the glass that gives it like this metallic look. It looks and feels a bit like metal, not so much like glass, and I like it. You see, fingerprint doesn't get on it that much. Now I want to show you my Honor Magic 2. This phone looks good in product shots and when it's brand new, but after you use it for like 20 minutes, it just looks so nasty. Like I look at all the dust that collects on it, look at all the smudges and fingerprints. It's just not a good look, and yeah, I have to constantly wipe it down because it looks dirty. On an LG V40, that problem, it's a lot better. Like it just doesn't, fingerprint just doesn't get on it as easily. It doesn't look as greasy. So now in terms of software, unfortunately, it runs Android 8.1. I wish LG could have given us Android Pie, but I don't know, maybe it will come later. Now this obviously has an LG software skin on top of it. It's pretty good. Like I don't love it. I think OnePlus's software is still better, but I don't hate it. It doesn't get in the way like EMUI on Huawei phones. So it's relatively clean. There is no app tray out of the box. You can bring up app tray within settings, but I don't like LG's app tray because it's a button press instead of a swipe up. So I just use it without app tray. So you have to organize all your apps because otherwise it fills over the page and it looks a little bit annoying. But otherwise, it's a very clean skin. It doesn't slow down the phone. It doesn't get in the way. And LG software gives you a lot of features. Like I really like this button that you can tap to bring down the notification shade. Now this is needed because you cannot bring down the notification shade by swiping just anywhere on the screen. You have to reach from the top. So good thing LG gave me a shortcut because it really pisses me off when phones don't give you a shortcut to bring down the gesture. You have to reach from the top, like an iPhone XS Max or Google Pixel 3. I know Google Pixel 3 has that fingerprint gesture, but it's just a little bit awkward. I just hate that you have to reach all the way to the top to bring down a shade. That's just stupid. Like every phone nowadays is too tall. Just watch anyone that uses an iPhone 10 or XS Max. They constantly have to like do this. Like they constantly have to readjust the grip just to bring down the shade. So I'm glad that LG software gives you that. LG software overall is just very thoughtful. Like double tap to turn off the screen or double tap to turn on the screen. A really useful feature, especially when you work in an office and you have your phone on the desk. It's just better to double tap to turn on and off instead of having to press a button. And I also really love knock code, which lets me unlock the screen by tapping on it. So this is better than a pin to me because a pin requires me to look at the screen to input the number. With a knock code, I can tap anywhere on the screen. I can tap up here or I can tap down here and I can unlock the phone. And it's still secure enough because you need to do an exact tap. So it's not like someone wants to break into my phone can guess my tapping sequence. And then of course, LG's always on display is arguably the best always on display on the market. Not only does it show you the time, date, but also third-party notifications. On the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, there's an always on display, but it doesn't show you third-party notifications. So that is really annoying to me. And on top of that, if you swipe, there's a little shortcut gesture. So you can turn on the camera right from the lock screen and then just do all these other things that I think are pretty cool. Like you're able to play music, control music from here, you know, turn on flashlight, all that, just from the always on display. This is the best always on display in smartphone. So overall, no performance issue whatsoever. It's a Snapdragon 845, so everything is pretty zippy. And this phone, even though I think the design is slightly boring, I think the Huawei Mate 20 Pro with the gradient color and the square camera module looks a little bit more stunning. And likewise with the Galaxy Note 9 with the curved screen, it just looks like more cool. this phone looks a little bit bland, but it's a design without major issues. It fits nicely in the hand. It's not heavy. It's comfortable to use with one hand. There's a easy to access one hand mode, and just no camera bump. So you can lie this phone flat on a table and it'll stay still. Unlike the Honor Magic 2 or iPhone XS Max, when you put it on a table, it wobbles like hell. So now let's talk about the cameras. You have a 12 megapixel main camera with an f1.5 aperture. So f1.5 is the lowest aperture right now in smartphones. So it pulls in a lot of light. But unfortunately, the camera is prone to overexposure. And then you have a 12 megapixel telephoto lens with an f2.4 aperture. So this allows you to get 2 times lossless zoom. And then finally, you have a 16 megapixel wide angle lens. Now you guys, if you guys have seen my videos in the past or read my work, you know I love the wide angle lens in LG phones. It's so awesome when you're traveling, especially in Europe with all the epic architecture. It just allows you to get a lot more into the scene. And it's very useful in Hong Kong where everything is just super tight as hell. Like the size of my apartment, it's probably like the size of my friend's freaking bathroom in Los Angeles. It's insane. But anyway, Huawei has also borrowed the idea from LG, so Huawei has a wide angle lens too. I made a video about a few days back comparing the wide angle lens of the V40 and the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. So if you're interested in that, check out my old videos. And on the front, you have 2 selfie cameras, an 8 megapixel main lens and a 5 megapixel wide angle lens. So as I mentioned during my hands-on, I'm not sure there's really a need for 2 selfie cameras because it really doesn't do that much of a difference. You see right now this is normal and we'll go to wide. I mean, it's a little bit wider, but it's not drastically wider. So the idea is that you can get more friends into your selfie. So right now, if I'm taking a selfie, I can only get 1 more person in here. If I go into wide, I can fit a 3rd person in here. But the 3 cameras on the back, fortunately, are awesome. So the main camera in the day especially captures very vibrant, very detailed images with great dynamic range. Like you check out the shadow here, it's completely visible and the sky is not overexposed. This is a very nice shot. And the wide angle lens is good. So this is a wide angle shot. You see there's no distortion. And then the center area used to be a little bit soft, but now it looks a little bit better. Obviously photo quality is better on the main image, but wide angle lens is pretty damn good. Now in low light situation, the LG phones tend to overexpose light. So you have to tap onto your viewfinder to lower the exposure yourself just to get a more balanced image. But once you do that, again, this is a really nice shot. So, I'm just a fan of LG's camera. Like, it's not the best photo quality in terms of the main camera, but then LG lets you do so much. The combination of the wide angle, the telephoto, and the main lens gives you 3 distinct focal lengths. So you can get images from 3 perspectives without really needing to move. Anyway, I'll shut up now and just show you more photo samples. But as good as the LG V40 is as still photos, I think it truly excels in shooting video. So first, what I really like is LG V40, like the LG V20, the V30, and the V10, allows you to shoot video with manual controls. No other phone offers this right now, mainstream phones anyway. So to do this on any other phone, you have to download a third-party app that you have to pay for, and it doesn't work as well because it's not natively built in. So check out this video mode here. I'm able to adjust white balance, so I can make a picture cooler or warmer. I can do manual focus, so I can do these tricky cinematic shots where the image just comes into focus. And then there's focus peaking that allows you to see which part of the frame is in focus. You can change your ISO, so you can adjust your lighting, and then shutter speed, so you can shoot with a slower shutter speed or faster shutter speed if you're recording sports or something. And then you see right here, you can even adjust your mic, like your audio input in terms of gain. You can make the mic more sensitive or less sensitive. You can change the direction of the mic, and you have wind noise filter. This is just like a breadth of options that you have to shoot videos that you cannot do. You can just do things with video recording on LG V40 that you cannot do on other phones, such as manually zoom into a specific part of the frame. So check this out. I'm gonna zoom into this disco ball right here. So you notice how to zoom, it's smooth, and it's also zooming to the right. On all other phones, you cannot do that. You can only zoom in the middle. So if I want to zoom in on the disco ball, I would have to tilt the phone and point the disco ball center frame. And you can shoot 4K footage at 60 frames per second. So when you shoot 4K 60, you lose stabilization, but the image is very detailed, very smooth. Actually, compared to the iPhone XS Max, I think it compares very well. And I personally think the iPhone XS is the best overall video camera. I'm not sure the V40 is better than the XS Max, but it is close, and that makes the V40 the best video recorder on Android. So that's 4K 60. You can also look at 1080 60. With 1080 60, you get stabilization now. And if you downgrade to 1080 30, stabilization, it's on point. It's very smooth. It's smoother than on a Huawei Mate 20 Pro, definitely. And as usual, LG offers a lot of different camera tricks. Some people will call them gimmicks, but I quite like them. So I think AR mode is pretty fun. You can put these little AR animations onto anything and it looks very realistic. They look a little bit better than what the Honor Magic 2 offers. And LG V40 also allows you to take cinemagraphs. So cinemagraphs is basically it looks like a still image, but parts of the frame is moving. I introduced this in my hands-on video. So you want to learn more, go watch that video. So this is a sample cinemagraph. Doesn't it look crazy? Like this part of the frame is still while people in the back are moving. I just think it allows you to take so many fun shots. So again, same thing right here. You have people moving right here while everything is frozen right here. So it's like a special effects shot. Now, you can do cinemagraphs on other phones if you download an app, but they don't come out as nicely, nor do they convert as fast. Like this one, it just takes you 6 seconds to take a cinemagraph. So other than the video recording, the other aspect of the LG V40 that I think is just better than other phones, it's the haptic engine. Like this isn't even an opinion, this is just fact. The haptic engine on the LG V40, it's amazing. It's again the best in Android. Like typing on this phone feels so good. You feel the feedback of each individual keys, like it's bouncing back at you, like you're almost typing on a real keyboard. After using this keyboard, anytime I jump back to another Android phone, like a Huawei Mate 20 Pro or a OnePlus 6T, I'm reminded that, oh man, the haptic engine is not good. The keyboard just doesn't feel right. And LG also puts haptic engine into other aspects of the camera. So for example, when you move a dial in the camera app, you can feel the phone vibrate just a little bit as if you're twisting a dial manually. So these little things are very nice touches that I just think add to the overall refinement of the LG V40. Now, unfortunately, my biggest nitpick with this, it's the battery size. The battery size is 3,400 milliamp hour battery, and it is not enough. And on top of that, LG phones just don't optimize battery as well as a Chinese phone. So when I use this phone side by side with Huawei Mate 20 Pro, I'll step out of the house at like 10 a.m. and this phone will be down to like 20% battery, which means you need to find a charger really quick. It gets down to 20% battery by like 6 p.m. With the Huawei Mate 20 Pro at 6 p.m., it still has like 55% battery life. It doesn't get down to 20% on the Huawei Mate 20 Pro until like 2 a.m. that night. So Huawei Mate 20 Pro literally lasts almost twice as long as the LG V40. So this is a phone that you will need to carry a portable battery pack with you if you're going out all day, or if you on a normal office day, you have to plug this in when you're at work. You cannot just leave the house in the morning and expect to come home at night at like 10 p.m. and still have the phone be powered on. By 10 p.m. your phone will probably be dead if you did not top up the phone. So this is the LG V40. Yes, I know that LG initially announced this for $900 and it was a little bit pricey to most people because again, it goes back to what I said in the beginning. People have this perception that LG phones are not on the same level as an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy, so they don't think it's worth $900. But I don't really agree. I think this phone is just as nice as those phones, so $900 it's okay. But with that said, there are still better values out there, like a Poco phone, $300, Snapdragon 845, or a Xiaomi Mi Mix 3. Virtually same performance. Now, fortunately, the LG V40 sells a little bit cheaper in Hong Kong. I think Hong Kong you can get it for about $750 US. And in the US, there are a lot of deals. Like I think if you sign up to a carrier, you can get it like $200 off right away, all of that. So once you factor in the discounts, if you look at the LG V40 as a $750 phone, then this is awesome. This is really awesome. So once again, the LG V40 is one of the most underrated and understated phones of the year. Thanks for watching.